This is my second time filming this entire video because my microphone died. So I've... Hello, good morning, good night, or whatever the hell it may be where you are. My name is Ellie, these are my glasses, and how are you today? Cosplay is a hobby that at this point I have dedicated half of my life to. Don't quote me on that though, because I think I've done the maths wrong, and if I haven't, I'm just in denial that I've stuck with something for that long. It's fun, it's silly, it satisfies that creative itch, and I just love it. But there's one thing I can't stand about cosplay. Actually, there's like 10 things I can't stand about cosplay, but for today's video, we're just going to be talking about cosplay burnout. I feel like there isn't a person in the world that hasn't experienced some form of burnout before. I mean, burnout by definition is quite literally a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by an excessive and prolonged stress. And we live in a society. But what specifically is cosplay burnout? Well, cosplay burnout is a Is this going to be an anecdotal video? Maybe. Sue me. Last October, I took part in 13 Days of Halloween. It's a trend that I see year on year on places like YouTube, but mostly TikTok and Instagram. It's 13 cosplays over the span of 13 days in October. Listen, I love Halloween. I love Halloween. And because I have the absolute misfortune of living in the UK that does absolutely nothing with Halloween, I was desperate to take part in this trend. So I bit the bullet, and I did. Also, Black History Month takes place in October here in the UK, and Halloween is usually more associated with something that's alternative. So I want to, be like, hey, we exist in alternative spaces too. Spoiler alert, I didn't finish. I think I did like 8 or 9 looks, which actually wasn't bad. Like, that was a solid attempt. I think personally, I would have been way more embarrassed if I did this big thing announcing 13 Days of Halloween and I just did one. It was a lot of fun. I got to challenge myself creatively, reintroduce old cosplays, or even did something new. It also kind of brought me back to how I originally started out cosplaying, where I'll just like pull things together and call it a day. Like for my other mother cosplay, I don't own a spotty top. The spots were just like pieces of paper cut out and stuck onto my top with a Pritt stick. And for the evil queen from Snow White, that was my Asajj Ventress cosplay I'd made a couple of years back. Wrapped around me in like the weirdest way ever, but like I actually can't complain because I think I cooked. But guys, I can't lie. As much as I enjoyed the challenge, it really did take it out of me. I was so dead set on doing the challenge the way I had always wanted to, that I was taking it to lengths where I was finishing, getting into costume and filming content at 6 in the morning. Sometimes I would even do 2 cosplays in one night, messing up my sleep schedule and like just using any possible downtime that I had between general life duties and work really and truly was not the one. But I don't think that's what really tipped me into cosplay burnout. Like, it was very close, but it definitely wasn't the nail in the coffin. I like going to conventions, and there's like this really big one that happens twice a year in my city. I don't know if you've ever heard of it before. London MCM Comic Con. That was quickly approaching, and I was in the masquerade. I'm not a stranger to the MCM Masquerade as I had competed in it a year prior. I love competing. I've never won anything, but there's something really special about being surrounded by other like-minded people. People who are passionate and just proud of their craft. Like, it's something really nice and really special to experience in the competitive sphere. I still wanted to do well in front of the judges though, which was also essential because these judges were also people that I looked up to. Yeah, that made the pressure stick. Especially when this fully embroidered costume I had put on about like 4 or 5 days before the con, and it didn't fit. I'm stressed thinking about it now. But long story short, by the end of October, I was burnt all the way out. Like, the thought of cosplaying genuinely made my skin crawl. Like, I just did not want to do it anymore. I couldn't even fathom how cosplay could be enjoyed. Like, it got to that point. And as a result, at the time of me filming this video, I still have not been in cosplay since the 31st of October. I will say though, I am currently coming out the other end of the cosplay burnout, and I think having time away from cosplaying actually did me a whole bunch of good. I've been meaning to make a return back to YouTube for like the longest time. And where I had that break, it definitely gave me that time to really think about what I wanted to do. But of course, I'm not the only one to have ever experienced cosplay burnout. My experience may also differ to yours. And so I reached out to you guys, the cosplay community, and asked you about your experiences with cosplay burnout. Ube Boba said that they felt cosplay burnout early last year. 2023 was my first full year of cosplaying at Comic Cons, and as of 2024, I sort of felt that I had to top it out of obligation. Chaos Pixie said, last time I experienced it was 2 years ago. I got so frustrated with working hard on my cosplays for it to feel like it was all for nothing. Karabastcosplay says, I'd say the last time I'd really encountered cosplay burnout was summer 2022. It was the first time I was going to try a 2-day con, and I thought I'd have time to make 2 new cosplays in time. Unfortunately, there were a handful of big life changes that made it hard to find the time, and I wasn't enjoying either project. I was in over my head and didn't enjoy how they were turning out. None of the cos plans went ahead for the con, and I only managed to complete one planned costume before I realised I am burnt out and not enjoying this. Seven Sword Saint says, cosplay burnout is something I've struggled with in the past and do in the present as well. The last and most extreme time for this was during MCM Comic Con May in London, where I only took a few characters to cosplay and didn't even use half of them due to being incredibly uncomfortable about my body image. I have a skin condition which over the past couple of years has gotten much worse, and as such has led me to hold off on any cosplays that reveal too much skin or being shirtless. Kat Kurosaki says, with the impending doom of the TikTok ban in America, I felt a bit lost with creating new content on social media. TikTok was, and still is, my main app for creating content and finding new trends, so as the final day drew nearer, a sense of doom overtook me and made me lose all motivation to get into cosplay and make new content. So as we can see, there is no monolithic way that you can experience and come into cosplay burnout. There's many different factors, such as body image issues, the pressure to do better, politics with the silly orange man, and just life. Things can just go completely out of control or just go ways that we didn't expect and just everything up. It happens, and while we know it's something that happens and still is quite normal, that still doesn't stop us from having big feelings about it. Kat Kurosaki said, I can't lie, it feels really hopeless. When I experience burnout, I get so stuck on trying to come up with something good enough to end the burnout, and I end up staying trapped. The worst part is, I tend to not like what I end up making for my comeback. Karabas Cosplay says, I honestly tend to have felt quite lost at times where burnout has hit. A lot of what goes into making cosplay has felt quite therapeutic for me. The creative process is an outlet I enjoy getting lost in, and ultimately wearing the final costume is a form of escapism, where I can just have fun being that character for a while and just being proud of the results, whether it's for a home shoot or out at a con. When burnout hits, I lose that method of escapism for a period, and it's honestly a bit of a blow to my mental health. And I hear that loud and clear. I use cosplay for the same reason, and I found myself feeling the exact way. And for me, cosplay is kind of the only thing that I'm good at. So the fact that I felt such disdain for a hobby that I've dedicated so much of my life to, like a hobby that's my personality trait at this point, felt so ugh. I was angry at myself. I was frustrated. I had imposter syndrome knocking at the door. It was really upsetting, and I didn't really know what to do with myself. And even though I knew that cosplay is something that I usually do to make me feel better, like Chaos Pixie, the thought of doing it made me tired and slightly anxious. The amount of drafts that I have on TikTok honestly gets to such insane levels. I think the most I've had is about 500, 600 drafts. And it gets to that point because I find when I am experiencing burnout, I am way too anxious to post my work. In fact, there's actually a whole cosplay I filmed so much for, but I think I've only posted 1 or 2 videos for it. And that was all because I was just too anxious to post, which in itself is actually really confusing because how can a hobby that you love make you feel this way? And while we're sort of grazing the topic of social media, I do just want to say that social media can and does facilitate a lot of the good. You can find communities, you have access to more information, and just so much more. But when I think about it, like when I really and truly think about it, I play dress up on the internet. I already have the gall to go ahead and do that. Yet I was nervous to post. So I did ask about how they felt about social media and its impacts on cosplay burnout. They pretty much agreed all on the same thing, that there is some sort of unspoken pressure to perform incredibly well on social media. The unseen pressure to constantly have something new planned to keep up with everyone else in the content creation scene can further cause feelings of frustration when you see someone you know making all this amazing content while you're struggling to even put yourself out there to the same capacity. The whole reason I often face burnout is because of the demanding nature of social media. That's not even getting into account of how certain commenters can be, especially those who are a little less conscious of etiquette in the cosplay community and are looking in, whether they have the best intentions or are purely out to harass and belittle. The comments can suck sometimes. People who aren't in the cosplay community tend to point out imperfections in your cosplay completely unprompted, and it is so annoying. I once did a funny Count Dooku cosplay, and I was told in the comments that I didn't have the right expression as I was being too smiley in the video, when the video itself wasn't even like a serious cosplay video. It was more so a, haha, look at me, I've yassified Count Dooku. And when you do retaliate to comments like this, you're usually met with the, oh, I'm just trying to be nice, I was offering advice, which, yeah, you may have had well intentions, but did I ask? Comments from the outside coming in, I feel, are always just that little more frustrating, especially when they do start getting nastier, as more and more people unfamiliar with the hobby and the community start having an opinion. And I feel like this is only further reinforced by what Chaos Pixie said. Cosplay used to be a fun hobby, but ever since it got popular on TikTok, it's turned into a beauty pageant. I wholeheartedly agree. I would like to go into more depth about this topic in like a completely different video, but the cosplay community did come a really, really long way. And as of recent, I feel like we're taking quite a few really big steps backwards. With the recent season finale of Arcane, fat phobia for whatever reason seemed to be commonplace in cosplayers' comments, which, what the and now it also seems like we're putting POC cosplayers back in a box of like characters that they're allowed to cosplay purely based on the color of their skin. Telling that black princess cosplayer that she has to cosplay Princess Tiana isn't giving the vibe that you think it is. And yeah, ask any person of color that cosplays, the racism didn't ever go away, but it's definitely on the rise again, especially where things like rage bait are becoming more and more popular. So yes, social media can facilitate a lot of the good, but equally, it also facilitates a lot of the ugly. Racism, fat phobia, and just general bullying can affect your relationship with this hobby. But one thing I do actually really, really want to highlight is something that Ube Boba has said, and I think it's something that's really important that we all do need to remember. In reality, taking part in the hobby is enough. Like I said earlier, I'm just coming out of like that cosplay burnout. Like the idea of cosplaying still does sound a little bit exhausting, like I'm not gonna lie. But if I like forced myself into cosplay to make content, I don't think I'll go on a break for several months. I'm actually feeling inspired and I'm excited to start working on things that I've actually had planned for a very, very long time. And I think for me, I definitely would have not been in this position if I steamed through the burnout, like just kept on going. It definitely would have pushed me even deeper into that slump. Not creating helped me clear my TikTok drafts, so that's a win for my phone storage. Doing nothing was my recovery route. However, that is not the same for everyone else. Some people like to push through this feeling, while others may like to take a step back, evaluate their feeling, and look at how they're going to move forward. I got over that feeling of burnout and dread by prioritizing what I wanted to do and not what I thought I should be doing to stay current. In most cases, I have taken a step back to evaluate what led me there, because ultimately, the most important person in the process should be myself. I shouldn't be afraid of taking it at my own pace, in my own way. Getting over this has been a challenge involving rethinking how I feel about my body image and trying to learn new crafting skills to improve any future cosplays. For others, being around other cosplayers can actually help bring you out of that creative slump. For example, Kat Kurosaki says, fun social events and being surrounded by other content creators really helped getting back into the flow of making new content. I'm very blessed in this community to have so much support, not only from friends, but family as well. However, in some cases, some people never ever recover from the burnout. Unfortunately, I didn't. Outside of cons, I haven't cosplayed since the burnout began. I never got over the anxiety it gave me. And you know what? That's okay. People's perceptions change, people's feelings change, and people's interests change. It's not a hobby that you have to stick to if it doesn't serve you anymore. In fact, that goes for all hobbies. So, cosplay burnout, it's a bit, it's annoying, but it's normal. So if you, sitting here watching this video, find yourself experiencing cosplay burnout, it's okay. I know these words are easier said than done, but you don't need to be too hard on yourself. Take breaks when needed and focus on you. Burnout happens to everyone. It can happen several times, but ultimately it will pass. So never let it consume you or make you feel like you should give up on something you love. Detach yourself from social media. What everyone posts doesn't account for their own insecurities or their own shortcomings, and it's easy to forget that when doom scrolling through your feed. Have you ever experienced cosplay burnout? Let me know about your experience in the comments. And if you have made it this far into the video, thank you so much. I have really enjoyed creating like this discussion type of video. It's the type of cosplay themed content I wanted to make for a while now, and I would also like to extend my thanks to everyone that took part. All of their socials will be up on screen right now, and I'll also link them down in the description. But thank you guys so much for being part of the first video in this series, if I can call it a series, because this is one singular video. If you enjoyed this video, if you don't mind dropping me a like and maybe subscribing, is that too cheeky to ask? If you'd like to see more or have any other discussion points you'd like me to talk about, let me know in the comments below. I'll be asking for participants on the next video over on my Instagram story, so make sure to follow me there if you would like to take part. And I'm also more active on TikTok than anything else, so cheeky shameless promo. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching. Goodbye!